You sure?
And hey, everyone. We'll
Oh,
glad to join you. We're celebrating Ellen finding the own switch. So it's good to be with you.
we've had some adjustments the past few days here. The internet has changed, and then all of a sudden, my computer decided it needed to update for the AirPods, even though it was just fine um, before. So when I tested it, because I do that.
Yeah, and her screen locked up. So she had to
Mhm.
do the well-known little reboot. But we're glad to be with you. Good to see you. Sky, Jane, good to see y'all. Appreciate you being with us tonight. Hope y'all have had a good start to the week so far. Um, Ellen is still broadcasting from one of our internationally known, renowned
Is that where it
remote
is?
locations. How are the dogs? Are they getting off fat, sassy?
Chunk is definitely getting fat. Cholula is still sassy. Chunk is still demanding as all get out. So I have thrown more ball um, in the past few weeks than I ever dreamed that I would ever.
And oh, okay, she kind of
Hmm,
locked up for a second. You kind
did
of
I?
froze for a second. Yeah.
I'm telling you, this is like new. Oh crap! Why am I not charging either? This is a new internet connection, so I do apologize if I fall off the face of the earth during this. Hang on.
Well, while Ellen is doing that,
This is kind of been, this has been my day. So there you go. Um, yeah. Okay. Hair. All right. Out of the face. There we go.
well,
Y'all, it's been a day.
welcome to everyone to Tuesday Q&A. This is kind of a night or a time for y'all to, throw out questions that, wanderings, deep mysteries of the universe, um, most any, excuse me, most any open topic. Damn it. Again, I am getting over the flu and I've had pneumonia a few times. So anytime I get some involvement in my lungs, I get this damn wheeze. So probably for a month, I'm going to have this little cough, little wheeze, whatever. I apologize, but not much I can do about it.
We thank all of you for tuning in from X, Rumble, YouTube. All of you. Love you to death. I am sending a message now to Rumble. So if guys, we're here for you. I'm watching all the screens, doing the things. So if you have any questions, comments, please do not be afraid to ask them. So get Erwin on here.
Yeah, I hadn't seen Erwin in a little while. Hope he's been doing well. He was traveling for a while, and then y'all were out. So we have missed you, but it's good to see you again, Sky. Have received actually a couple questions or comments. Got a couple things to follow up on from the last week or two. This is a modestly significant time. Third quarter has ended, and a lot of companies will start issuing their earnings statements. BOA, for example, was expected to have some pretty rough numbers, but ended up issuing numbers better than expected. So hadn't really had a chance to dive into those, but let's just say I'm still in Missouri. There's just too much smoke going on around BOA to believe it's not a severely distressed institution. But one thing that I found interesting that we're seeing kind of a modest rush in analyst estimates. Now, all the major investment banks have analysts, and each, they'll have analysts covering a particular segment of an industry or a few firms and doing projections of earnings. Well, the revisions have taken on a pretty interesting trend. Whereas, a couple months ago, everybody was optimistic going into, the third quarter, fourth quarter 2025. Now, the latest numbers show that 7 out of 11 of the major market sectors are projected to have declining earnings growth for the third quarter. So, there's a lot of numbers up on this chart, but this column, the one with the circle, is the one that really is drawing my attention, because you've got consumer discretionary going from 15% growth to 2%. That's an interesting number. Staples from 3 to 2. Staples is usually pretty steady, but 2% growth, that's almost like no growth. That's a stagnant economy. Uh, Energy from 1% growth to 25% growth. That's definitely a recession. Financials, 19% to 1%. How do you say just damn?
Damn.
Healthcare, damn, 20% to 9%. And tech even is feeling a little bit of the bite, 21% down to 15. Now materials has been dropping. It's projected to drop, but not as fast as it has been. So if you want to call that improvement, or is it nearing, kind of a bottom where, people are needing the essentials. Real estate, and this is something I kind of think's a little, probably a little optimistic actually. Real estate from -1% to a positive 1%. Still pretty much a stagnant economy in terms of, real estate growth. But with everything that's happened in with Helene, and then in Florida with Milton, you've got the Austin market crashing. You've got San Francisco, LA markets, tumbling. I think that's probably going to be a high number, and particularly going forward, 4% growth in fourth quarter, 4% in first quarter of 25. I think those are probably high.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Does any, okay. Does the fact that illegal immigrants are coming into the country and renting more and buying houses, does that have any um, uh, effect on these
It
numbers?
Oh, certainly it does. It's probably the only reason they're not much worse than they are.
That's what I
Supply and
was thinking.
demand. Yeah, you add 20 million people to the population that need housing over the past 3 or 4 years. That's obviously going to soak up a lot of vacancies, and somebody's paying for it.
Yeah,
Um,
you and me and every American on the stream.
and then here's, this bottom line, kind of covered it a little bit with the circle, but if you look at the S&P 500 as a whole, the earnings growth has dropped from 13% to 4%. And if you look just at the Mag 7, we've talked about the Magnificent 7 before.
Mhm.
They've gone from 37 to 19. That's half of what they did last quarter. If you look at the obscure 493, the S&P 500, you take out the Mag 7, you're left with 493 other companies. If you look at those, what I call the obscure 493, from 8% to 1%. You want to know what a stagnant economy looks like? What a recession looks like? That's it. So, and then if you take out the Mag 7 plus Pfizer, Merck, BMY, Bristol Myers, financial like banks, you're looking at 0% growth.
And guys, like I'm still getting texts from CVS weekly about how I should go get my COVID shot and my flu shot, and I'm like, y'all must be crazy. I don't know why you're sending it to me, um, because it ain't gonna happen. Pure
They
blood.
need the they need the business.
Not my business. They ain't never
Sky,
had my business.
Irwin is busy working and can't make it. Sky, you need to tell that young man to get his priorities straight. It's a
Yeah, no
couple
kidding.
it's a couple of shows he's missed. That's enough. Enough of that nonsense. Just tell him he was missed.
Where's Miss
He
Melissa?
And where's Melissa? I hadn't seen her in a few days.
I know she's
Hope
had, some stuff going on.
hope she's doing well.
I
But
think she
yeah,
is.
we have a little family here, and when some of the family's not here, they're missed.
Definitely. We notice. We notice all of you.
So this is not something that'll get a whole lot of publicity, but I was looking at it and thought, well, that's just kind of damned interesting. That's not the story you're seeing in the headlines. Um, 7 out of 11 sectors, and even the ones that are not projected to have declining, like materials, is still declining. Real estate is flat. Um, Industrials is flat. It's not like any of them are having really strong growth, with the exception, communication services, tech, whatever is kind of improved. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting.
It is interesting.
Something else that we alluded to Saturday was Microsoft signing a deal to pay for the restarting of 3 Mile Island, pictured here, because they need juice for their data center that they want to build. And obviously, not enough energy in the established energy production, of the country to allow for all of these data centers that, these AI companies want to build. I also mentioned the future might be companies running their own little mini nuke plants. There's some new technology out, and had a question on this. So I thought, I would
Mm.
give kind of a more timely example, which also popped up. A few days ago, Google signed an agreement with Carios to develop and build some small modular reactors, SMRs as they're known, small modular reactors.
What is curious?
It's a company that
Oh,
builds these new tech.
shit.
Sorry about that. That builds some of these new tech reactors, and we'll talk about the tech in a second. The new tech. But Google has agreed to buy the output from this reactor or series of reactors starting in 2030, up to a capacity of 500 megawatts in 2035,
Do you
which
have
is
any
a hell of a lot of
idea?
juice.
Yeah. Do you have any idea how much the U.S. uses in megawatts in a year? Because I would like to know that.
Let's see. 1.3 million megawatts
Okay, per year in
per
America,
year.
and it's going to be 50 megawatts.
Wait a minute. That's not per year. That is the generation capacity, the daily capacity, I think.
Okay. Well, how much do we use?
Pretty much the 1.3, 1.2, pretty much all of it.
And how much is Google paying for? I'm sorry. 50?
Five
500
500 million megawatts.
million. So that
Yeah.
is way more than we use in a year.
Yeah, I just Googled that. Let's see. In 2022, the US consumed about 4 trillion kilowatt
Okay.
hours. Um, so that's a good question. And I'm sitting here thinking that normally, like megawatts, if you've got a solar installation on your house, it's producing 40, 50, 60 megawatts a day.
Mhm.
So normally I think of, when I just see megawatts, I think of it in terms of daily consumption.
Right.
So, the the first comment I said, as of January, the U.S. had a generation capacity of 1.3 million megawatts. So I was thinking that was per day. But Google, with one deal taking up
Mhm.
almost half of that, that seems pretty damn massive. So I'm not sure of the numbers.
Wait, you said 1.3 million, then you said 500 million megawatts.
Yes.
So
Yep.
that's
Well, yes, that's 500 times, 400 times.
yeah, yeah, what we
Yeah.
use
So
in a
that doesn't
year.
make much sense. Yeah.
No. So I'm just trying to figure out like what sorry, I ask the weird questions, I know.
No, it's a good question. I just didn't think about it beforehand and haven't really done much research. And offhand, honestly, don't know. I can find out, but it'll take me a little time to come up with numbers that I'm confident in. First numbers I Googled just seem not to fit.
Interesting.
So, and that actually, actually, I was using Google and Google's AI. So if the numbers are hokey, Google's going to be wasting a whole lot of electricity.
I don't think they're gonna be wasting any. I think there is a plan. Just don't know what it is.
Yeah. But the deal that we know is they have signed up to purchase at least 500 megawatts in 2035. Now, Curios has already received a permit to develop a pilot project using their new tech in Tennessee. Their technology is called molten salt reactor. Molten, like melted salt reactor, molten salt reactor. And physicists think it has a far safer technology than water cooled reactors. The reason is that the molten salt reactors, MSRs, can use salt both as a coolant and as a fuel, or just as a coolant. Now, most designs use liquid fuels dissolved in the molten salt, while others use
Mhm.
solid fuel rods. So there's different variations of it. But in terms of the safety, the MSRs are much lower pressure. So the fuel and the coolant both are at atmospheric pressure, just like normal air pressure. So a tube leak, if there's a hole in a tube, it doesn't automatically force a steam leak, a fuel or coolant release, because the pressure's equal. MSRs also have a very high heat capacity. The salt, apparently, that they use can absorb a lot of heat. And also, the salt, when it heats up, it expands. And as it expands, it keeps the ions from reacting as much, which causes the reactor to cool. So it's kind of a self regulating mechanism.
Hmm. I hmm. That seems sketchy to me a little bit.
Yeah, I don't honestly understand all the physics behind it. I'm just reading what physicists have to say and how they described it.
Well, I'm just thinking about cooking pasta. I put salt in there, and of course, it takes
I
a
don't think
long.
it's the same salt. A salt
Well,
is just a chemical structure
yeah,
that
NaCl.
has an that has an well, it has an anodizing ion. And so it can be consist of a whole lot of different compounds, different molecules, some more complex than others.
Hmm.
So I'm not sure exactly what the salt they're using is. I doubt it's regular table salt. Also, the salts are not violently reactive with air or water. So if it comes in contact with either, it's just, a neutral solution. So it's got all these advantages over a water cooled nuclear reactor, which seem to indicate it'll be far safer. Again, most of this is theory. There hasn't been a working model. The company has a permit to build a working model and is, developing it now. So
So
we'll
they're gonna
see how all the kinks get worked out,
so they're gonna fuck around and find out.
pretty much.
Okay, fair enough.
So, um,
Sorry, I've had a day, y'all. So I'm a little bit like short, maybe. If I'm rude, I do apologize, but need to mine some Bitcoin in there. Hey, gas.
Hey, Gas, how you doing? I have no doubt, but what if this technology is successful? One will be a whole lot cheaper and quicker than building like a 3 Mile Island type of nuclear plant. And you'll probably see, you know, a lot of mining operations taking some of the excess energy production off some of these data centers who may not, at least when they're starting up, may not consume all of the available energy. Kind of like you see the mining operations going up in gas and oil fields where they burn off the methane, or where you have hydroelectric projects without enough demand. And so the energy's still pretty cheap, that kind of thing.
Now, y'all are going to have to fact check me on this one because y'all know me, I forget the numbers. But Elon Musk was saying, I think it was 1,000 square yards that they could put solar panels in and absolutely power the entire US of A.
Yeah, I don't think it was 1,000 square yards. It was probably, I don't remember exactly what the
Or
number
acres,
is.
1,000 acres
Yeah,
or something like
maybe.
that. Y'all got to fact check me on this one because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But no, I mean, it was just like, he was like, yeah, we could easily do it. No problem.
Yeah, did you see what the latest solar field getting bombed by hail look like?
Listen, I'm not saying that it's like a safe or effective thing to do. I still believe in the power of nuclear and gas. And you want to take fuel away, you can, well, use your
Yeah.
imagination.
I'm reminded of FEMA sending all those electric chainsaws up to the Helene victims. Pallets,
Did,
pallets of electric chainsaws when they have no electricity.
did you see when Glenn Beck interviewed FEMA and they
Yeah,
were like, y'all, Helene is a disaster. It is way worse than anyone's telling you. Trust me on that one. Um, they are actually how do people get to know that you're here? How do they know to sign up? Well, they watch it on the news. Dude, they have no electricity. They have no
yeah,
televisions. Well, they can power their phones from their cars. Most of their cars were swept away, jackass.
yeah.
Seriously? Like, what are you thinking?
And
And
they put the sign-up area in an offbeat location. It's not even on a main road. You've gotta go down this little side road, and it's behind another building, and there's a little sign out front.
yeah,
It's just
Beck, yeah, was in
utterly
the
ridiculous.
with Senator Corey Mills, North Carolina. In the parking lot, there were 8 guys in the truck, and Glenn Beck's the only one who saw the truck. And they were like, "What? What?" It's like, "Yeah, it's over there." They had like y'all, it is a disgrace. It is disgusting to see what is going on here, Georgia, South Carolina. I mean, I can't
And
imagine what Florida's going through. It is insane.
and it's fading from the news headlines, but there's still a ton of people that are hurting, that are having trouble getting water, um,
Babies can't get
and
formula.
yeah, so it's there's still a lot of a lot of people now are living in tents because there's no fixed structure for them to live in, and, up in the mountains, you got a cold front coming down
They have no
and
heat.
no heat, they don't have winter clothes, they don't
There
have a
is a
ton of blankets.
there's a bunch of looting going on right now.
So it is a mess, even if it's out of the headlines and out of sight. So just, keep those people in your thoughts, prayers. If you can contribute something to the relief effort, something like Samaritan's Purse
Or
doesn't
go
take any money for operating cost. 100% goes
um
to the victims.
yes, that and the Cajun
Navy.
Navy. And there's
Yeah.
one more that is the oh shoot.
Yeah, just look for
Yeah.
organizations that a high percentage of your money goes toward the victims. Some of the common ones like Red Cross and whatever have very high administrative cost.
So
And
most of your
so
money is
20,
going to
30,
pay.
40,
Yeah.
yes, up to 60% of 70% of your money can go to administrative cost. Jane, I believe in waving my magic wand and using my rainbow sprinkles and unicorn farts. It's worked for you in the past, so that may not be a bad formula.
Yeah, the Cajun Navy's on it. They definitely are. There's another group, the American Men's something, and they are bringing the organization. They're stepping in there and going, "Okay, you people have no idea what the hell you're doing, and we're gonna tell you how to run this and, like, organize it so that everybody's getting what they need." Because they were ended up with, like, ridiculous amounts of water in places that they're like, "We have too much water. We need other things. We need
Yeah.
fuel. We need food. We need whatever." So,
Yeah, the problem is that, FEMA has started bringing in food and water, but they dump it in places where it's really not needed.
exactly.
The difficulty is getting it in the backwoods where, people are isolated, not on a city block that's heavily, in a nice little suburban area. That looks cool. And it's like, hey, FEMA's here. We've got tons of food for everybody. Well, no, it's like, you've heard me say before that we can produce now, grow enough food to feed everybody in the world. We just don't have the logistics to get it to them. And that's the problem in the affected, mountain areas, is that there's so many people that are stranded, don't have, easy access, don't have transportation, don't have housing, don't have, enough food. So,
Yeah, and the problem is too is they've turned away so many private helicopters that can do the work and will do the work, and they will go rescue. I mean, people know, they have heard, because there is a coconut telegraph, believe it or not, in West North Carolina. If you put an SOS and a big X where a helicopter can land, go, and they do it. And if you just drop, but
oh,
so many have been turned away. It is crazy, and people in West North Carolina are freaking suffering. And it is sad. Babies are dying. There are more, I mean, they can't get enough body bags. And apparently, local, what do you call them? Mortuaries won't send them without FEMA's approval. Yeah, Robbie Starbucks is a great dude. I mean, he is doing all the things to help trafficking children, and everywhere this man shows up, it is a great cause. And he has no
so
affiliation with Starbucks. Just
yeah.
saying.
So, keep these people in your prayers. If you can contribute or help, please do. They are going to need it for a while. And, even beyond the food and water housing situations, I saw a video of a guy who had kind of like a construction and earth moving firm, and um, all of his trucks, I mean, big, heavy dump trucks, loaders, front end loaders, graders, all the heavy equipment was just trashed, had water all in the engine, et cetera, et cetera. His shops had 2 feet of mud in it. All of his tools were ruined. His electric power tools, winches, everything was just ruined. And, he's already got loans up to his ears, so he can't borrow more money to buy new equipment, get his equipment repaired, replaced, to get everything cleaned up. What's a guy like that going to do? I don't know, honestly. So it's an absolute mess, and it will be for a while. Um, Tennessee, North Carolina, northern Georgia. I haven't heard much in Alabama. And then obviously down in Florida, where the 2 hurricanes went through. Fortunately, I say fortunately, Milton didn't do as much damage as was expected, but it's still going to total 50 to 60 billion from the estimates I've seen.
Yeah, Mike Johnson said that he had been to, both after Milton and then North Carolina, and he said that North Carolina was worse than Florida, Milton.
Yeah. Because Florida is actually built to take hurricanes. You know, most areas on the coast that have been through a couple hurricanes, the wiring, like where we live, all the wiring's underground. We're kind of off a main trunk line. So if the main line goes down, yeah, we lose power. But as soon as that main trunk line gets power, we're probably, going to be okay for power. In terms of water drainage and building codes, that kind of thing, most of the, like, my house is built to withstand a Cat 4 hurricane. Even the windows are rated up to a Cat 4. Now, the problem with a Cat 4 isn't necessarily the wind. It's that you've got sticks and branches, pine cones, whatever, flying through the air at 130 miles an hour. That will still come through the window. It's not rated for impact, but wind. So you can still have severe damage. And if window breaks, if water is being blown upward under the roof, you can still get a lot of water damage. So it can still be very expensive, even if the house is still standing.
Yeah, I told Clay a long time ago, I've lived in North Carolina my whole life, essentially, and even, I was in Lexington, North Carolina during Hugo, which was years and years and years ago. But I've been through quite a few hurricanes, and I'm like, I don't worry about our stuff. We get our stuff locked up. But I worry about everybody else who has either just moved down here from up north or has never experienced a hurricane and has no idea how things blow around. I ended up one year with somebody's trampoline in my backyard from like 4 blocks down.
Yeah, and you're lucky it didn't come through a window.
Yeah. And if it did, or chairs or whatever, it would just be like, come on, people. You gotta make sure everything is secure.
Yeah, getting through a hurricane is definitely a little bit of art, a little bit of science. You need
Yeah.
some experience.
You've
But
never been through one, you don't know. I get it, but like
yeah.
wind outside, secure everything.
Bring it inside, bring your pets
Mhm.
inside. That's something that honestly bothers me. Like in Florida, the Florida State Troopers found a dog that was tied up to a fence. Why?
Oh, good God.
Why? I just, you know, that pisses me off more than anything.
Allow them to survive themselves.
Yeah,
That's the
and
best
take
thing
them
you can
with
do.
you. Take them with you. Most people don't know, but if you have to evacuate an area and you need to stay in a motel and you've got the hotel may not allow pets, but I believe it's an emergency law that if you're having to
They
evacuate
have
an
to.
area,
They
you
have
can
to.
tell them and they have to accept you and your pets.
Yep.
So leaving your pets behind because you don't think you can get a room somewhere is not a valid excuse.
No, and they can't
Yep.
charge you anymore for it. They can't make a thing of it. They have to accept it.
Yeah. So anyway, um, we were talking about molten salt reactors.
Sorry.
That's all right. No, we we
I just
will
get
ramble sometimes. That's okay.
it just gets frustrating to me because so many people
Yeah.
are really suffering, truly suffering. And there are a lot of people, and I don't know if any of you are watching from probably not Western North Carolina, but there are a lot of close places or people who are offering up rooms for really cheap or just even a couple rooms really cheap. Um, if anybody needs a place to go.
Yeah, and some of the cities and areas are trying to reopen because tourist season is a big revenue generator for them,
Mhm.
and now everybody is staying away. So not only do they have the damage and the losses, but their income is dropping to zero. So it's kind of like a double whammy. It's just like the hits keep coming for these people.
Did you hear about the plastics plant that they were just trying to hang on to the trucks and the plastic bundles when the water came?
Yeah.
I don't think people understand. I'm sorry, I'm doing the thing. People understand that these people did not have a real warning. This is something that has never happened in any of their lifetimes, their grandparents' lifetimes or great grandparents' lifetimes or before that. Okay, you get a hurricane coming through Western North Carolina, you get some flooding. This is not this is not what happens.
Yeah, like we're most, near the coast, we're mostly level, so the water runs off. Well, if you're in a mountain region, you've got all that rain hitting the mountains and coming down the side and collecting right in the valley. So you have little, basically meandering creeks that turn into a 25-foot deep, raging river, just destroying everything in its path, moving boulders, tossing cars aside, just leveling houses, huge mudslides that will just take the whole side of the mountain with it. Um, yeah, it's horrible.
It is it I mean, yeah, I know. I'm not sure what's going on there, but okay.
Well,
Um,
if
before you get to I know you wanna do this thing, but before you get there, can I talk about the race this weekend?
sure,
Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna remove that. So I have y'all, I'm from Western North Carolina. I do love some racing. I love cars. One of my stepdads and I would work on engines all the time. It's a thing. Um, and so I kind of got into this kart racing. And I was like, what is kart racing? It's go-karts, but it's go-karts at high speeds, like 70 in the straightaways, 50 around the turns. And these, I want to say kids, they're not all kids. Most of them are not kids. I mean, they have like junior levels, but Um, a friend of mine has a 16-year-old, and his name is Christopher McKeithen, and he has done very well with go kart racing. And he came in second in senior medium on Sunday, which was awesome. This was the oh god, y'all, I'm gonna forget the CKNA, which is the Karts North America. Um, this is like their grand championship racing thingy. But anyway, so one of the kids decided that they did not like the fact that Christopher McKeithen and his team won all the time. So this was the so the kid with the black helmet here, that's Christopher McKeithen, and he was pretty much thrown off the track, which is really sad because he was supposed to win the whole thing.
or
This
he
was
was in
a
a good
senior,
position to win.
yeah, senior light, I think.
We'll
And
just tell the story.
if you're watching, correct me, Mr. McKeithen. No, but he no, great kid. I mean, just absolute puts his heart and soul into this. And no, it's great. I just love watching. I think it's a fascinating sport because there's so much into it that people don't realize. Like
Well, did you tell him that he was taken out intentionally?
I did not. He was
Yeah,
taken out intentionally.
you might want to
Sorry.
mention that point
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so he was taken out intentionally.
by this driver in red.
No, no, not this driver. It was
Wasn't
the
this
one
one
behind
okay?
him. It was the one behind him. Um, the one in red could have gotten killed as well as McKeithen. Um, so yeah, that's not cool. And yeah, he did admit that he did it on purpose. He did it to because he was tired of their team winning, and he was tired of McKeithen winning, and just wanted to be done with it. So thankfully, he does not get to race again for a year.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how he did it, but it looks like to me, if you look at the picture, the nose of the car is kind of pointing inward while the backside, you can't really tell, is pointing out,
Yeah,
and
he's
then
turned away.
McKeithern is flipping. So it
Yeah.
looks like he did a pit maneuver on McKeithen, which is obvious. There's not really an accidental way to do that. You nudge up behind the rear bumper of the car in front of you and then swerve into it. It's an intentional move, and so it was pretty obvious apparently that the guy wanted to do that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And, yeah, so McKeithen was, like, he was the starter on that race. The qualifiers were all weekend. He ended up being, first to move out, and, he was doing his thing. I've watched him race a few times, and, like, he gets in 3rd, 4th, 6th even, and he'll come back and win. But this kid, man, he just had it out for him, and this is not I mean, McKeithen's 16 years old. This is not a cheap sport. And for somebody to do that intentionally is just, in my opinion, abhorrent.
Yeah. You can even see the underside of McKeithen's cart, quote
Oh,
unquote.
yeah.
And I mean, I'm looking at that and it's got, you know, pans, piping, tubing, exhaust, whatever. It's just like a regular little Ferrari engine tucked in the back of that thing somewhere. I don't know what the limits,
Mhm.
I don't know what the CCs, the size, anything like that is. I know very little about the sport. But if you've got a little go-kart that can go 70 miles an hour, you're hauling ass.
Yeah.
So, hats off to him.
Yeah, this was in a turn. I'm hoping we get to interview him at some point because he's a cool kid. He's been doing this since he was little, and it's really amazing because he will call and say, the company that supports him and say, "You know what? I need this chassis done a little bit like this or that, change this," and they'll do it and they'll send it to him. So yeah, he is freaking incredible. He knows the sport, and it's cool to see a kid that age that is excelling in that, and I hope that he continues to do it.
Yeah, I think the chances are high that he will. He's
He
obviously good
better.
at it. I don't know, if he'll ever decide to step up into larger cars or stay with this. I'm not sure, but he has a fan in Ellen.
I know. I think I'm his biggest fan. I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
see. Probably besides his parents, but
All right. One other thing on energy, real quick, and this is something that I have said repeatedly. I think I've even used this graph before. But I always talk about energy and how we need energy, abundant energy, cheap energy, because there is no economic progress, there is no economic prosperity. You as an individual, particularly middle class and poor, have a harder time making ends meet when energy is terribly expensive. Everything you buy, food, obviously heating and cooling, obviously transportation to and from work, is all consuming a much higher portion of your paycheck. So, but if you look at the chart, look at the graphs, think of the poorest countries you can think of: Haiti, Somalia, Rwanda, Burundi. They're all down here at the bottom. Low energy. You think of the most successful, prosperous countries. You've got Norway, United States, Japan, all up here with uh, cheap energy. There, it's not just a correlation. There's a causal effect. So, if we want to maintain this status, we've got to maintain the ability to generate energy efficiently and relatively cheaply. So, I'm done with that. I believe we actually have a McKeithen owned. Ellen?
you go ahead.
I thought you'd won
Second
that.
and okay, second and senior light got beat by .002 at the line, started 23rd. Yes, he did. He went, I mean, even the announcer said, Christopher McKeith and that kid can do anything. It was impressive. Wrecked in
Now,
medium.
is this the dad or is this the driver?
I'm trying to figure that out right now. Wrecked in medium. He was a 2023 CKNA grand champion, so defending champ. Yeah, he killed it. He came up, you know, 23 places or 22 to come in second. And I think the same guy that wrecked him was the same guy that kind of screwed him on the what do you call it? Clay, help me.
Have no don't know what you're trying to say. No idea.
When he was trying to get when they were placing for the positions, it was the same
Yeah.
guy that got him back
Don't
to
know.
the 23rd position.
Well, we appreciate the info and you joining, Christopher. Again, not sure if you are the driver, which
Or
Ellen
Tim.
is. If you are, if you Ellen is a huge fan, which we're all kind of becoming fans. And if it's the dad, damn good job, Dad.
Yep.
So either way, we're glad to have you.
Wait.
I guess I don't want to talk about Bitcoin. And then gas. How do we do that? I presume you're talking about energy.
Talking about Bitcoin or gas, you gotta be more specific.
I think he's asking, how do we have cheap and available energy?
Um,
Would be my guess.
okay,
And
that was dad. That was that was his father.
okay. Well, it's good to hear from you, and we appreciate the update. Hope, Chris is doing well. It's dad. Sorry, just realized on his account. Well, I didn't know if y'all, shared the same name or not, but uh, quite an accomplished young man to have developed the skills and the determination, the energy, the understanding of his sport. And I'm pretty damn sure you had a pretty good role in that as well. So hats off to you
Absolutely.
both.
Yes, absolutely. Good job, Daddy-o.
Yeah. Whoops. Yes. So we can make more Bitcoin. Well, if we want, we know how to have cheap energy. We've got natural gas plants, we've got coal plants, nuclear plants. All three of those deliver far cheaper energy than any quote unquote green energy source, solar panels or wind. Wind, particularly, is obscenely expensive. The average price for energy, I'm trying to remember the numbers. I think in the country, it's around $35 a kilowatt. And New York just signed an agreement with an offshore windmill company, actually two Norwegian companies, and agreed to pay them about $150 per megawatt. So that's 5 times the cost of current energy production. So one thing we could do is quit shutting down natural gas and coal plants. Some of these alternative production facilities, like maybe the molten salt reactor, offer a lot of promise. We need to be researching and testing the hell out of those. Develop some models, see how they work, see where they glitch if they do. But we know and have the ability to have and source and provide cheap energy. But there are certain elements, politicians, whatever, that very much don't want you to have cheap energy. I remember when Obama was running for his first term, his second term, his energy secretary And this was back in 2012. His energy secretary stated he had a goal to get gas price up to $6 to try to reduce driving. You see a lot of increased taxes on gasoline and um, proposals to tax people by the mile because a lot of EVs don't buy gas, so they're not paying the gas taxes. So, an alternative suggestion has been to bill cars by the mile. They're always going to get it somewhere, but we know how to produce and make cheap energy. So that would be my answer. Now you mentioned Bitcoin. I think Gas wants to talk about Bitcoin whether Jane does or not. So okay, let's talk about Bitcoin. Most of you are familiar with, because we've talked about him several times, BlackRock's Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock. BlackRock, for those of you who don't know, is the largest investment management firm in the world, or one of the largest. Has about $11 trillion under management. Now, so Larry Fink is one of those guys that when he speaks, people listen. And the other day he was talking and he stated that he believed Bitcoin would surpass the US housing market in value, which housing market's roughly $50 trillion. Bitcoin right now is roughly $1.3 trillion. So you're looking at an increase in Bitcoin of about 50 times in value. Well, Bitcoin currently is $66,000 and change. Today, well, past 2 days, just off of Fink's comments, Bitcoin jumped from 62 to 66. So a nice little jump just off Fink's comments. And Fink also pointed out it doesn't matter who's president. It's Bitcoin is about liquidity and transparency. He even described it as a flight to safety asset, which, I've kind of alluded to that some. I said I didn't know if I was quite ready to describe it as that, but Fink, has no hesitation. Now, was talking about how Fink thought that Bitcoin's market value would exceed that of housing. Well, 50 times. So if Bitcoin's value increases 50 times, it would make each Bitcoin worth a little over $3.3 million from 66,000 today. So if you hold Bitcoin, you're like, Fink's got to be a prophet. Gotta hope Fink is right. So we'll see. And now that Fink is kind of agreeing with me, does that make y'all hate me? I don't know. Jane, I'm leery about the molten salt technology. I'm cautious about any new technology, but I ultimately believe in innovation. And I think whether it's molten salt or some of the other alternative technologies, that something will come out that is successful and safer. And you can have, I've even seen some schematics of different types of reactors that literally will fit in a little cinder block building in a neighborhood and power, 25, 30,000 homes. The potential there, theoretically, there's no obstacle to it. We've just got to work out some of the practical details. So I think we're getting close. I think that is in the near future. To me personally, I think the ultimate solution is going to be in hydrolysis. You take water, and if you break water up, you get hydrogen and oxygen. Cool. Well, hydrogen, you can burn it, obviously for energy. That process of burning hydrogen is called oxidation, where hydrogen combines with oxygen again to produce water. The only problem with that process is it takes more energy to break up the water molecule than the hydrogen that's released produces when it's oxidized. So it takes more energy to break it up than it produces when it's burned. Well, you can lower that by use of a catalyst. A catalyst lowers that energy threshold. They've just got to find the right catalyst or series of catalysts in order to make that process feasible. Once they do, you can put a bottle of water in your car and run it forever. That's how cool the technology would be. You could have a plant next to the ocean, put in a bottle of fresh water, and start producing all the water you wanted forever. I think that's the future. But again, there's no physical law or restriction against that. It's just practical reality. We've got to develop the technology to do it. And I think we will someday. So, Gas, did that fill your Bitcoin curiosity? Few other things, a little bit of information came out on the economy the last few days. Saw where U.S. weekly hours worked by Americans fell to 34.2 hours per week. It's the lowest in 14 years, excluding the 2020, the COVID, which again, I kind of throw the COVID out of all historical comparisons because that was artificial. It was mandated by government. It wasn't an economic phenomenon. It was a legal phenomenon. So I really don't look at numbers from COVID in terms of trends. So over the past 3 years since April of 2021, hours have steadily fallen, posting the largest decline in 20 years. You want to know what a stagnant economy looks like? That's what a stagnant economy looks like. You have people working fewer and fewer hours as companies reduce working time, trying to avoid layoffs and still cut cost. At the same time, the number of full time jobs has declined for 8 or 10 straight months, while part time jobs have blown up. In fact, we've got a record number of people working more than one job now, 2 or more jobs. We don't have good data on if they're working 3 jobs. We just know that they're working at least 2 or more. That's the survey choice. That's a stagnant economy. That's a weak economy. So, part-time jobs have skyrocketed, which also impacts the amount of hours you can work a week. Last month, September, the number of part-time vacancies hit 28.16 million, which is the third largest in history. And that's 400,000 above 2008. The only thing you can say is that the labor market is deteriorating. Whoever says the economy is fine, going great or whatever is either a lousy propagandist or wholly uninformed. One or the other. There's no other alternative. Continuing to look at a strong, weak trend, I do try to have a little fun with some of the titles on the slides. Auto loans. Auto loan delinquencies are skyrocketing. As you can tell by this blue curve, that's increasing exponential. Delinquency rates are now just below 3%, the highest since 2010. And that's a very, very high rate for auto loans because people will do almost anything to keep their auto loans current. If they're starting to default or get delinquent on auto loans, they're screwed. Just absolutely and completely screwed because people need their cars. The percentage has doubled in 2 years. So, if you look at this increase, you can tell it's been rising at the fastest rate since 2007, 2008. And this at a time, you also got to keep it in perspective. This is at a time when auto loans have absolutely blown up. Auto loan debt held by Americans, the red line, you look, um, I cut off the side when I was copying the graph, my bad. So I can't, give you exactly, but this is about 1.6 trillion. So this is about 800 trillion. Halfway is about 800 trillion. A quarter of the way is about 250 or 300 billion. Sorry, let me get my numbers right. 300 billion. So you look at this, and the total debt is literally 92% above 2008 levels. Not only that, car insurance costs have jumped 15% in the first half of this year alone. The average automobile insurance is now about $2,300. So the car market bubble is bursting. Not only with EVs, but even with ICE internal combustion engines. ICE vehicles have just completely died. Companies are abandoning all their plans for moving to EV production. Well, regular vehicle sales are also tanking. Um, Jane, I think Ellen is taking a time out here. Bitcoin can't help you if you have no electricity, no phone or internet. That is true. And that would be pretty much a worst case scenario. Again, gold wouldn't help you. Cash wouldn't help you for long. So if we have no electricity for a sustained period of time, we're back in the Stone Ages, and people are going to start acting like we're back in the Stone Ages. We've seen some indications of that with Katrina and, now with Helene. When people get hungry, thirsty, when mamas have babies to feed, everything changes. Courtesy is kind of out the window. Respect for property rights is kind of out the window. So, in a worst case scenario with no electricity, everything electrical obviously is worthless. Gas, thank you. Put your views over well. I appreciate the comment, the encouragement. And again, you can't bank in that situation. Your credit cards, your ATMs, your debit cards, none of that works. So cash may work literally for a few days, but beyond that, I think its efficacy is going to start being greatly hindered. I was going to say we shall see, but I'm not exactly ready to predict that, but it's always a possibility. I mean, we live in a hurricane area. So it's very possible we could be without, electricity for a week. Some people are out without it for weeks, but generally they have, there's enough electricity or power or whatever available to bring supplies in, food and water. Or you've got neighbors that have, food and water available. Down here, most people know how to prepare for a hurricane. Like if a hurricane's coming, we'll fill up the tub with water because the electrical pumps for the water system may go out. So you may not have water, once the storage tank's empty after a day or two, there's no water. So you still have water to flush your toilets with, to kind of bathe off a little bit with. You have cases of bottled water for drinking, that kind of thing. So in a hurricane area, Florida, along the coast, et cetera, most people are generally prepared to be without electricity for a few days. Now, I found this index, and we talked about inflation. We talked about inflation a good bit, kind of in detail last Saturday. But I have long complained about CPI being a hokey index, being an inaccurate index in terms of inflation, giving you an accurate inflation number. She's back. Welcome back. Well, Prime America has actually created and recently released its own inflation index, a monthly index that actually measures middle income families, the average American families, purchasing power for food, gas, utilities, and healthcare. The stuff that people actually buy every month. It is the only snapshot that I know of that's just focused directly on the well-being of the middle class, middle income households. Now, to interpret this chart, you see a red dotted line going through the middle. That's the baseline, 100%. So if HBI, the blue line, if it equals 100%, you are neither better off nor worse off than you were in January of 2019. All the prices are indexed to January of 2019. So if it's at 100, you're the same that you were in January 2019. If it's less than 100, then you have extra money left over. You're actually doing a little bit better. If it's over 100, you have less money available. You're paying more for the necessities. You may have to reduce spending, you buy less, you reduce savings, whatever. So looking at the index in February of 2021, it stood at 102. And then you have this sharp drop. This is the COVID stimulus where you had tons of money being dumped into the economy, given away to families, for free. So obviously their purchasing power greatly increased. So that's why you see this sharp drop. This is the result of all the stimulus money. Well, the stimulus stopped, and January of 2022. And so where have things gone since then? Well, you can tell the costs have gone from 86% up to 102.2. So that's over 2 years. And that's an 18% increase in 2 years, which comes out to about 9% per year. Now, if you look at the CPI, it says your cost from that time have gone up about 2.4% this past year and 6% the year before. So the 2 years of CPI is less than 1 year of the HBI index. And there Ellen is showing Chunk how much he's grown in a couple of
That's Rudy.
That's
Hey,
Rudy.
buddy. He was outside by himself, so I was like, okay, come on. I had to get something to eat, so.
Yeah, Rudy is a huge fan of Ellen's because Ellen actually gives him attention and some food.
I love him. He's a good boy.
He's a good boy. So does that make sense? Anybody have any questions so far? HBI, CPI,
Yes,
inflation.
What is HBI again?
HBI is Prime America's household inflation chart.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry, I was snacking and getting Rudy. So
no problem.
Do you think how do you feel about, I don't want to make this political, but Kamala sending $157 million to Lebanon, which is run by the Houthis, while people in North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida are not doing so good?
Yeah, I'll make one edit to that. Lebanon is run by Hezbollah.
Excuse me.
Houthis
Sorry. You're right.
Houthis are in Yemen.
You're right. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of sending money to anybody until the people in America are taken care of first.
Well, do you think that it is advantageous to Americans to send money to, Hezbollah?
A, a
People that wanna
known
kill
terrorist
us?
organization, people that have actively killed Americans in the past.
Mhm.
No, not a
No?
fan.
Okay, so
So
how do you feel about the fact that all 22 organizations have now band together because they have gotten so many people over the border, across the border, that all want to kill us. How do you see that panning out?
22 organizations. I'm not sure I follow what you're saying.
22 terrorist organizations.
I Yeah, I don't know the details on that, so I can't comment.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but not a fan of letting terrorists in the country as a general rule. Just not a fan.
Can
Um,
imagine why not.
yeah, we have talked about, the money going toward immigrants, and you know we don't have exact numbers. Some studies indicate over the past couple of years it's about a little less than $500 billion
Yeah.
that has been spent to house, feed, give $10,000 Visa cards, give transportation anywhere they want to go in the country to the illegals.
And
Um,
$700 plane ticket just to get here.
yeah, that doesn't count the money given to, transport them, feed them, house them, guide them, teach them how to ask for amnesty. It doesn't count the Social Security payments that they receive. A lot of people don't know, but if an illegal requests amnesty, he's eligible for full Social Security benefits
Yeah.
for 7 years.
Yeah.
So they do, and they are being schooled on how to ask and get amnesty. So yes, they are receiving, many of them, don't know exactly how many, are receiving Social Security, that same Social Security benefit, that same Social Security administration that says it's gonna run out of money in 2032.
That every single freaking American taxpayer pays it. People think the government has money. The government only has money because the taxpayers fund it. That's it.
Or
It doesn't
or
come
it
from
prints it.
anywhere else.
It
But
prints it,
that's still taxpayer money. They're printing and devaluing the value of.
the money. It's a hidden tax on earners.
Yeah. I just I
Alright,
don't have what? I have very little tolerance for that, especially when
yeah.
people in the States are struggling so much right now.
uh, Alright, I saw this, and it struck me as something kind of interesting because we have also in the past talked about the World Economic Forum, kind of one of our pseudo favorite topics that we allude to every now and then, the Great Reset, if you're familiar with it. Um, and I probably need to pull it up, but there's a 2-minute video on that the WEF produced. And you got to understand the WEF is a group of all the world's elites, power brokers. I mean, prime ministers of Canada, UK, France, Germany, the the president of the US, Secretary of State John Kerry is a prominent member. These are the powerful people who have ruled and are running, whatever you want to call it, the Western, um oh geez, what's the term? The Western economies.
European?
Yeah,
Western?
the Western civilization.
Mhm.
Well, in this brief video, they talk about 8 goals. And one of the goals that one the common phrase is you'll own nothing and be happy. You won't own a house, you won't own a car, but you'll be happy. You'll be renting everything. Well, we've talked about how that's a problem because people's number one source of wealth acquisition in this country has been their home. So if they don't own their home, that bodes poorly for their ability to accumulate wealth and maintain independence. Another goal that's in this short video is you will eat less meat. And obviously, I enjoy a good steak every now and then. That's something that kind of strikes home to me. And I saw this video and I thought y'all would find it interesting. In this video, a bioethicist named Matthew Leo says in order to fight climate change, we should genetically modify humans to be intolerant to meat. Here's his words. Let me see. Let me make sure. I'm going to remove this because sometimes good old StreamYard doesn't cover the sound, doesn't share the sound. Let me try it now. Make sure the sound comes through.
Climate change is one of the biggest problems that we face today. Millions could suffer hunger, diseases, coastal flooding as a result of climate change. We may be beyond the point of no return. Scientists believe that we have no choice but to consider geoengineering. This is large-scale manipulation of the Earth, such as spraying sulfate aerosols into the ozone layer in order to increase the reflectivity of the planet. But geoengineering is very, very risky. We have never attempted these technologies on such a large scale. So we could end up destroying the entire ozone layer. I want to consider a class of solutions that have never been considered before. Human engineering. It involves the biomedical modification of human beings. I'll give 4 examples. Here's one. 18% of greenhouse gas emissions come from livestock farming. So if we eat less meat, we could significantly reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. Now, some people would be willing to eat less meat, but they lack the willpower. Human engineering could help. Just as some people are naturally intolerant to milk or crayfish, like myself, we could artificially induce mild intolerance to meat by stimulating our immune system against common bovine proteins. And in this way, we can create an aversion to eating eco-unfriendly food. And we can do this, for example, by having meat patches, kind of like nicotine patches. People can then wear these patches before they go out for dinner to curb their enthusiasm for eating meat. Climate change is one of the...
So there you go. The next step, the next evolution would be trying to bioengineer people to where
Hell to the no. Hell
they
to the no.
couldn't eat meat. Obviously I've got some issues with that. And, he introduces it as kind of a voluntary idea. But how long do you think it would take? And there have been some comments to this end that it could actually be modified using, for example, like an immunity to viruses using mRNA that could be adapted to develop an intolerance for meat. So it quite possibly could be introduced via vaccinations, via inhalants. I don't know if you could take it orally. That might not work, but the idea has been broached. And, most of y'all know my stand. I don't think CO2 is a toxic gas. It's not a toxic gas. It's fertilizer for plants. It's the reason why the planet is 10% has 10% more green space now than it did 40 years ago. The planet is actually greening. Also, if you look at it in a long-term time frame, if your time frame goes beyond 40 or 100 years, if you look at it for, 10,000 or 100,000 years, CO2 is at a historic low. So, and a lot of people talk about sustainability. Sustainability. I almost hate that word, but sustainability. Almond milk. Everybody wants you to drink almond milk. All the rage. But what they don't tell you is that for a gallon of almond milk, it takes about 1,500 gallons of water to produce 1 gallon of almond milk. Ellen, while you're banging around, I'm going to silence your mic.
No, I'm
That's
good. I
okay.
was giving Rudy some Doritos.
Yeah, that the cracking and the noise just really comes through.
It's gone.
So it takes 1,500 gallons of water to produce 1 gallon of almond milk. Well, in comparison, it only takes 4 gallons of water to produce 1 gallon of milk. Regular milk, cow milk, which is more sustainable. Now, keep in mind, it's also possible to breed animals like mosquitoes that could have a gene to infuse this intolerance, in addition to being included in vaccine or inhalants. Jane states they already have a tick bite that can make you allergic to meat.
That is awful.
Yeah. So it would not be hard to literally, bioengineer people to where they would eat less meat. And let me ask you, if you look at history, particularly, even the past 100, 200 years, more modern times, how often has government cared for the little people, the poor, the middle class, or their rights? Does anyone, and not just in the US, I'm talking about around the world, does anyone doubt this type of involuntary inoculation is possible? Do you think there are some in government now that think it shouldn't be your choice as to what you eat? Just something to think about. And the beautiful thing about this guy, this bioethicist, well, cool dude. He's got his own Twitter page.
Sadly.
Well, actually, it's not so sad because if you look at his Twitter page, same guy, Matthew Liao, professor of bioethics, New York University, it shows him, the dude likes to eat. There's a lot of pictures of him sitting at a table eating, like this one, where he is enjoying a nice steak.
Well, that's because they don't want the masses to eat it. They want to eat it. That's the difference.
Exactly. He doesn't have anything against eating meat. He just objects to you eating meat.
Exactly.
Again, and you can go through his other picks. Some of it is Oriental food, which it may have meat in it or not, but there's some where he's eating salmon and other meats. So it's just kind of
hypocritical.
Yeah. Can't really tell what he's eating in this one. I found it earlier. I don't see it offhand now, but there was one where he had a nice big chunk of salmon. So anyway, meat for me, not for thee, ought to be, their motto. And if you see the WF they gather once a year at Davos. I mean, they're having extravagant meals of lobster and prime rib and steak and whatever. And this is while they're all talking about how we need to eat less meat, and the tremendous risk that cows present to our future. So that, Maybe it's just me.
Climate change is one
I
of
just
the
think
biggest.
that's highly irritating. All right. Anybody have any other questions, comments? This is kind of y'all's night. I apparently do most of the talking, but if you've got
No.
something that shot, but if you've got something that you're curious about or want to gab about, that's the purpose of tonight. It's really, a night for y'all to have, some more time. Usually on Saturday nights, I'll try to prepare a topic. Tuesday nights, I just kind of throw stuff out. But it's y'all's time. E-Train sent you over the article on the tick bite. Did you send it to work or?
I don't remember.
I've got 3 or 4 different emails, so sometimes tracking down a specific email is a little bit of a chase.
Difficult. It is. And sometimes they don't go through and sometimes they do. It's a thing.
Yeah. So I don't see anything offhand quickly.
Not recently. Not in the past hour or so.
Nope.
So
it'll
here
probably
it is.
get to me. It's just
I
not
got
there
it.
yet.
I got it. Hang on. I didn't see it. I just saw it. Yes, Jane, I did. I'm sending it. Okay. I'm coming.
It's all right. I mean, you can throw it up on screen if you want to.
I don't even have it's on my iPad, so I can't do it.
Oh, okay.
And it's not going to allow me to do it that way.
Technology is great, except when it's not.
So I've got to go to the thing and do the thing. Hang on.
But at least we do have electricity, so we can all be kind of excited about that.
A lot of people don't right now. Let's do that. And I will mail. I will send it to work.
Okay. I've actually got more than 4 emails, but there's 4 that I check daily, routinely. I hate to tell you how many I actually have.
I only know 2 of them, so
Yeah.
listen to 2. Actually, I know 3.
You know 3, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't want to know the rest because it gets too confusing.
Yeah. Send it to the ones I check.
You can keep it your Pornhub email somewhere else. I don't care about that one. That's a joke, guys. That was funny. Anywho.
All right, let's see here. Alpha-gal syndrome. Type of food allergy. It makes people allergic to red meat and other products made from mammals. Usually begins with the bite of the Lone Star tick. Transfers a sugar molecule into the body. This triggers a reaction from the body's defenses. The immune system causes mild to severe allergic reactions to red meat, such as beef, pork, or lamb. Can also cause reactions to other foods that come from animals, such as dairy products or gelatins. The Lone Star tick is found mainly in southeastern U.S.
Here we go.
The condition appears to be spreading further north and west. Deer are carrying the tick to new parts of the country. Let's see. No treatment other than avoiding red meat and other products. So just go ahead and shoot me now. Avoid tick bites. Avoid tick bites to prevent alpha-gal syndrome. Well, if that isn't the best advice I've heard lately, I just don't know what is. Wear long pants, long sleeve shirts when you're in wooded, grassy areas. Use bug sprays too. Check your whole body for ticks after you spend time outside. Yeah, ticks and spiders are things I hate in the extreme. Little sneaky little bastards. Yeah, just not a fan. Snakes don't bother me. Snakes are cool. Reptiles, other animals, bears, all that stuff doesn't bother me. Ticks bother me.
That's your thing?
Yep. Not a fan of little sneaky little bastards.
Okay, because spiders, no.
Yeah, and ticks also carry Lyme disease, which can be, you know, rather difficult. So just not a fan of them. Anytime I've been out in the woods or go hunting, I will usually try to take precautions. Maybe blouse my pants, tape them up good, sleeves, whatever. I'm real, concerned about the back of my neck. You go under a branch or tree, that sometimes they'll drop down on your head, get in your hair, that kind of thing. So there is no perfect defense. And I love the outdoors, not giving up the outdoors. So, they're just, you try to be as careful and as cautious as you can, but um, just be aware.
Yep.
But yeah, it's
I-
very, very possible to synthesize that same sugar molecule in the Lone Star tick and introduce it to other species, possibly mosquitoes. So kind of an interesting point. Anybody have anything else?
We've always got yes or no. There's actually a new expansion pack to this that you're probably not going to let me get, but it would be good.
Well, while we're here, I want to go ahead and ask everybody to do the tings, hit the like and subscribe, ring the bell, ring the hell out of the bell. Also, if you have any questions or comments that you think of later, feel free to email me at moffatonmoney@gmail.com or follow me on Twitter, moffatonmoney, and DM me. Be glad to hear from you.
Are we
you want
doing
to
the
do a
thing?
couple of questions? Yeah, we'll do a couple. It's getting a little late, but we'll do a couple.
God, I'm trying to find the group I had together already. Okay. All right. Y'all might not like these. Politics is show business for ugly people. What do I think you would say? You know what? Let's do it this way. Let's do one at a time. Where each question, either you guess or I guess. So this is
Okay.
yours. What you think I would say?
I think you would say no.
I would say yes.
Because there are some not altogether unattractive people in politics.
I'm aware. I'm just saying. All right. So this is yours that I have to guess. Women with a high body count are more miserable later in life. I'm going to say you would say yes.
Probably is my experience that I would say that I would agree. Yeah. That's not a scientific survey, but that's my observation.
Okay, so now I get to guess what you would say. Astrology is bad because it's real.
Definitely a no.
All right. We should let pandas go extinct.
Why the hell? Who thought up that question?
You see it?
Yeah, I believe your question. I just who thinks up these questions?
So would I say yes or no?
You say no.
Of course.
I was going to say anybody that would answer that question yes should be shot.
I know, right?
You can't help but watch a panda video and not be entertained and just feel better about the universe, feel better about yourself,
In the
whatever.
world.
in the world as a whole. You got to feel like there's hope for the world.
Mhm.
You know, I'm sad that communist China has the pandas, but that's not the pandas' fault.
They're red pandas and they're the black and white pandas. And
There's the trash pandas. We have trash pandas,
do we? What are trash pandas?
raccoons.
Oh, we got lots of trash pandas. All right. Now, this one I have to answer, and this is going to be tough, actually. And I am on purpose not switching questions because I would really like to at this point. All right. Teachers, not physicians, are the real doctors. Since Clay is a PhD and he wanted to be a physician, this is a tough one.
Yeah, it's not that tough. I would probably say yes, but they are different. The PhD is a research degree. It's not a
Right?
teaching degree. A lot of people think
Jane
it is
said
a
yes.
teaching degree, but
Jane
it's a
said,
research degree. Most people, when they think of, I remember I had a friend that would introduce herself and she'd say, you know, I'm Dr. So and so, but I'm not the kind of doctor that helps people. And, you know, I would kind of snicker. Of course, my opinion of the medical profession has dropped dramatically over the past few years. You know, I was going to med school, got married, decided to not to pursue that any further. Probably should have stayed with it because my second love didn't work out all that well. But still, the only thing I was interested in was pediatric surgery. Had the longest, most difficult residency, et cetera, and would have loved the work, but only on my terms. And I don't think I could have really had it on my terms. So I'm very happy where I am now. But I still love the practice of medicine, still love surgery.
Jane said
Jane, they still have ugly souls. Who, the doctors or the doctors?
the teachers. All right. So you have to guess what I'm going to say about this. Steroids should be allowed in sports to make them more interesting.
I would say you would say yes.
No, hell no.
See, I would allow steroids with you know, with informed consent. So cheerful. The good-looking politicians still have ugly souls. How some of yes, many of them do actually. Got to agree with you on that, cheerful. How would they survive in the wild? You know, it's amazing. Most highly educated people could not survive outside of a civilized, organized system or culture.
Outside of
A lot of a
their
lot of
own
people won't.
community,
Yeah, a
their
lot of
own
people won't.
people.
Their own enclave,
Hmm.
their own sound chamber. It's
Their comfort
sad, but
zone.
it's true.
Hmm.
Yeah, I am in academia, but I'm a very big critic of academia. And particularly tenure. I don't think anybody ought to have tenure, be guaranteed a job when they're not working. Jane, yes, physicians are what we call doctors.
Y'all are confusing the hell out of me.
That was Jane Post's idea, but as long as you can get people to trust you, you are set. SBF, for example.
Yeah. At least for a few minutes.
Yeah, I mean, Bernie Madoff was so successful because he was able to get people to trust him for 20 years. You know, Sam's reign didn't last that long, but, you know, stupid should hurt.
Listen, I Madoff did a lot of horrible things, but the ugh, I don't know if I want to even share this story. My first husband's parents invested in Madoff, and they stole everything I owned. So that was kind of a win for me. Like, good for you.
Yeah.
You took everything I owned and you lost everything. So karma.
Yeah.
Anywho, next. All right. So
Yeah,
you're guessing.
you can't be a successful fraud if you can't get people to trust you.
Mhm.
You know, that's something that people, particularly investors or people purchasing some product, need to just intimately understand. The salesman's job is not to sell you something, it's to get you to trust them. Once you
Mhm.
trust them, then you'll buy stuff. All right, next question.
All right. I'm guessing for you. It's okay to transition if you're over the age of 18. I don't know which way
Yeah,
it's
if
going. Really?
no, I would say if you're an adult, do what you want to do. Don't expect me to pay for it. You know, don't expect
What
me.
if what if you were as a kid you were groomed for it? Is it still okay?
I mean, there are all sorts of hypotheticals you can come up with, but ultimately, you either let adults make their own choices or not. Um,
I agree. I mean, I
I
think that
can't.
if you have not been indoctrinated, if you have not been screwed with in school and that's really what you want to do, you go for it.
Yeah, and I could structure an argument whereby every stupid decision an adult made was because of the way they were raised. But sooner or later, you gotta take responsibility for your own decisions.
This is-
What the I was talking about the pandas, but yes, I agree, the highly educated people wouldn't survive in the wild either.
Oh, good God.
Alright, well
We
well,
went on a whole tangent about that.
that does it for tonight.
We- I'm sorry, Jane. I was like, which doctors are we talking about? You're like, pandas, the pandas. Okay, sorry, got it.
Uh,
Oh, Lord. Y'all know we are. Okay. One more.
are there no pandas in the wild in China? Are all of them, in zoo?
I don't think so.
Don't know. Not sure about that. Cheerful.
Yeah,
Pandas need
it's not
so much
true.
bamboo. The the HEP, don't know how to help him. The HEP,
I'm lost.
HEP. Yeah, not sure what
Cheerful.
that
Help
is.
me.
What's HEP,
I'm
Cheerful?
tired. Clay's tired. We've both been sick. I think we're just like,
Help a brother out here.
ring that bell. We're like, should we tap out now? I don't know. All right.
You know,
Okay.
highly
Mhm.
educated people.
Sorry. Cheerful. We are
Yeah.
not the brightest bunch right now.
On my best day, I probably wouldn't have known what HEP was. So,
Well,
not gonna use that as an excuse. And,
oh,
I have little acronyms that I use that,
I don't know what the hell they mean.
yeah, it doesn't make sense to other people. So, it has been 103 minutes. Perhaps you're feeling it.
I think we've been feeling both being sick and exhausted. I think that's what we're feeling at this
Yeah,
point.
I'm still a little hoarse and a little wheezy. I apologize for that, but I appreciate y'all's patience and sticking with it. Hope you've got some decent information out of tonight.
Wait, we got
Maybe
one
a
more.
few of your questions answered.
What did Cheerful say?
Hepcats, 40s slang, I think. Yeah, I'm a boomer. I'm not a greatest generation.
And I'm an
I'm the
X.
son
So
of the greatest generation. Well, what's the other question you got?
they didn't turn the frickin' frogs gay. They turned them trans.
That's not a question.
It's not a question. It's a statement that you. It's a yes or no. What do I think?
I have no idea.
All right, next one. Wearing glasses makes people appear more intelligent.
I would say,
Well,
as a former glass wearer,
you're talking about what I would say.
I would say since you're now wearing glasses, your answer would be yes.
Hell yeah. Hell to the yeah. Duh.
All right.
Yes, my new specs. I'm digging them.
Yeah, we're not even going to talk about those things.
Yeah, by the way, if you get Cheerful said yes, yes, yes. I do not recommend the ones with like the eyepieces because every time I do this, they would just get stuck in my hair and I couldn't pull them out. And then I
Yeah,
had to
you want the
do a whole
one-piece molded
surgery.
plastic.
Much better. These are Banana Republic. Love them. They have like the ombre, darker on top, lighter on bottom. So it doesn't look like down here I have a whole lot of glasses going on. Thank you, Cheerful. Yeah, these are way better than the last ones I had. And I can actually see, which is awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad I had LASIK done back in 2010, I guess. Finally got rid of my contacts. So that was a big event for me. And I think on that note,
We're out, man.
we will call it a
You,
night.
you are not usually one to go out before 9. So
Nope.
thank you. I appreciate it because I don't feel good and I'm tired. So
Yeah. I think this is probably a good time. We've had a
thanks,
good time
guys.
with y'all. We appreciate y'all being with us. We love you guys. Those on the replay crew, love you guys as well. Occasionally, some of the people aren't able to make it on the regular nights. They're on the replay crew, but if you have some time, pop in and say hey every once in a while. We still,
Yes.
miss some of y'all.
And X and Rumble, feel free, do the same. We are trying to get you guys in here. And if you guys need some more love or what can we do to help you guys out and make you understand that we love you too. Either way.
Yeah, we're
Thank you,
actually
Cheerful.
thinking about and talking about trying to increase the presence on Rumble. You need Rumble exclusive content. So trying to figure out, how to do that because we've obviously got a far bigger audience on YouTube. But we may, try doing some Rumble exclusive content and see if we can't, grow it a little bit better. Rumble has a little bit more flexibility and is not quite as strict on some things. So it gives us some more freedom to talk that YouTube and present information that YouTube doesn't. So with
And
that,
if you guys hang on, if you guys watch any go-kart racing, interested in racing at all, Team McKeithen.
shouldn't it be like an M or however you would do it? An M?
Now you just got to make it weird.
No, that's
Christopher
sign language for
McKeithen.
M.
I know. Look him up. Good kid. Great racer.
And his fan base is expanding.
It is.
Jane. We've got to get Jane off that 10-minute delay.
She's got stuff going on. You leave her alone.
I know. We love Jane. Jane actually
And she's my backup. So
jumped in as a co-host last Saturday because Ellen was puking, and really appreciate it. Did a great job. Appreciate your help. We love Jane. Y'all, thank you very much.
Hang on.
No more hanging on. It's time.
No. How do you spell his name? It's McKeithan. First
There
name
it is.
Christopher. There it is. Great racer, 16 years old. Just, man, can't believe he got knocked out this past weekend. Still makes you mad.
All right, everyone. Good night.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Cheerful.
y'all. See you Saturday night. And we love you guys. Our time
We
is
do.
up. We thank you for yours. Good night.